The most traumatic thing was losing my daughter. I lost her days before my due date, just days before. When that happened, what I thought was the worst times of my life, that struck something in me. I was very insecure, very ashamed of my body, very insecure in my relationship, and I just isolated myself, distanced myself from the world and from everything else that was going on outside of me. And I dug myself in a very dark hole. And my solution at that time was to drink. I am a mother of two. I'm an author, a speaker, and right now I'm just being obedient in my ministry. I just wrote a book by the name of But God. I just released it in January of this year. So this is a little bit about me and what I'm currently doing in my life. It's just full ministry, spreading my testimony, my dope testimony, and being a light to the world. I grew up in Decatur, a little bit on the east side, but originally I'm from Decatur. I grew up with my mom, my grandma, my dad. It took a village to raise me. I was that child that gave everybody a little bit of trouble. This is also part of my testimony. So God don't call to qualify, He qualifies to call. What was my earliest childhood memory? I'm gonna be honest, but this is the first thing that popped up. It's not so much a good memory, but it's the first thing that came to mind. How I always heard the word love, but I never felt it. So I think that also played a part in my testimony and in my journey as a young adult looking for love and finally finding it. And then that also been a part of my trauma. I've always heard I love you, but I never really felt it. It just seemed like a casual word, a casual thing to say, okay, bye, I love you, or I love you, but I never really felt what love was. Early on, me and my mom, we struggled, we bumped heads a lot. I didn't really have that bond with my mom. My grandma, my dad, everybody raised me, but just as far as feeling loved, I never felt that. So when I found God, I really genuinely felt what love was, what love really was, not just in a relationship and being intimate with someone as far as relations with another man, but what love was intimately with a father and just love in general. God really showed me what it was. I found God in my 20s, so I'm 28 now, 26, 27. I literally just started walking with God. I've always been my grandma kept me in church, my mom kept me in church, but I didn't have my own relationship with God. It was literally like it is today. It was in my life early on. It was sort of just a thing to do. Going to church on Sundays, and that's about it. But actually living a devoted life to Christ, I formed that in my late 20s. So I just formed that with God around 27, 26. But I didn't find God in church. I found Him literally at my rock bottom. And I always say this phrase, He was my rock at the bottom. Like I had to go through some things to witness Him as who I heard Him to be from everybody else. I had to actually witness Him in my own life to be a father, to be a healer, to be a provider, to be who the word says He is. I had to witness that, and that is what makes my relationship with Him so strong now, because it's not just from what I've heard, or it's not just from what I've seen in someone else's life. It's from what I've experienced myself. No one wants to be at a hard place in life. No one wants to deal with depression. No one wants to deal with loss or grief. But those are the places where you experience God even more. It's more than just going to church, literally. Like when you get to experience Him as who He say He is, then He is. You can stand on His firm foundation, confident. You can stand out from how everybody else is in the world. You can preach the gospel. You can testify to someone about who He is boldly because you've experienced Him. I've always had a whole soul, so I've always stood on I'm not doing nothing too fast. As far as a relationship, like I got into things with the intention on like actually loving somebody and being loyal to somebody. And that was good, but it also hurt me even more because a lot of people didn't have that same mindset. I used to get hurt a lot because I'm thinking that if in a relationship, if we're together, then we're together. Like I'm not doing anything to hurt you, and I'm expecting that same thing. But I think part of that was because I didn't feel that love, and I was searching, or I was looking so hard to feel it back. Just being in those relationships, I was heavily looking for what I now know only God can give. I was looking for the type of love that only God can give. I was looking for that in relationships, and even later on in my life in careers and in certain job positions. I was looking for it in money. I was looking for what the world couldn't give. I was looking for it in the world. It hurt me a lot because I didn't know God to be who He is now. So I was looking for it in everybody else. And I had to learn the hard way that a relationship isn't meant to heal you or fulfill you. You know, it's only meant to be in addition to who God already is in your life. But when you go into things with the mindset of it sustaining you or fulfilling you or even being to you what only God can be, you end up hurting yourself by going into it with that mindset, because you can drain the other person by trying to pull more than they have the capacity to give. So I had this mindset even in middle school. I was dating this one guy, and I couldn't nobody tell me that I wasn't in love. Like, you know, that don't mean love, like, girl, you're not in love. You just like, you don't even know what love is. And I ended up having to move, and in my mind, we were going to still be together. And he texted me one day and was like, this long distance isn't going to work, and things like that. And I balled up. I was like, wow. But it was in that moment I realized that, like, we have to have ourselves together before getting into things, because if we don't, we will pour all into someone. And when that season, because some things are only 4 seasons, when that season ends, we end up leaving ourselves at the end of that season. Like, it takes parts of us. It strips us from our identity, from our confidence, and a relationship is never supposed to do that. I allowed that season to sort of strip me, as well as identify who I was in the future relationship. So I was being formed and being built from pain, from heartbreak at an early age. I was still in high school, so I was in 10th or 11th grade. A lot of people think that I've had a good life. I think because I get labeled as this pretty mean girl. I'm like, you got one thing right, the pretty. No, I'm kidding. But I'm not mean, and I've had a tough life. I didn't grow up with the right picket fence. I think I get mislabeled as that person a lot, but it's not true. I've dealt with pain before I even knew what pain was. Early on in my life, it went from me not feeling love and bumping heads with my mom. We didn't have a close relationship. And at that time, I needed her the most. I was going through different transitions. I was going through heartbreak. Didn't have that mom to talk to. And that was right before I went through the most traumatic thing in my life. So it was like pain after pain after pain. Even to the point to where, like, most of the people that I grew up with, they're not even here anymore. So it's like, at one point I got so crippled in fear that something would happen to me, and it ended up happening to me. Now I say it happened for me, but at the time, that's all I knew at one point of time was pain. I lost myself. I would barely laugh. Like, I found nothing funny. I used to be irritated at the fact that other people would laugh. Like, what you laughing for? It's not a good day. What's going on? Oftentimes, well, every day I'm on here telling my testimony, but they would think that that's where my pain started. But I dealt with all of that even before that. The most traumatic thing was losing my daughter. I lost her days before my due date, just days before. When that happened, what I thought was the worst times in my life. That left, so that strikes something in me. I was very insecure, very ashamed of my body, and very insecure in my relationship, and I just isolated myself. Distanced myself from the world and from everything else that was going on outside of me. And I dug myself in a very dark hole, And my solution at that time was to drink. I became a very heavy alcoholic. I would drink every day. It got to the point to where it was dangerous. I would drink and drive, or I would even, I won't say withdrawals, but I got to the point where I needed a drink. Like, I'm not functioning without having something to drink. Like, that's how it was. It was very hard. And I was in a relationship at that time, so the relationship was also weighing on what I was already going through. There was a lot of bullying. She was fully developed at that time, so she was moving a whole lot. I even knew when she was home, she get the kicking and the moving. I'm like, let me eat something. Because during that pregnancy, I was very sick. Like, I could barely keep eating food down. But the doctor told me I had to at least try to eat something just to keep the baby fed. So though I wasn't hungry and I didn't want to eat, I knew when the baby wanted to eat. I knew when she wanted to eat. So it was a lot of bonding. And that bond is what even prompted me to know that something was wrong, because she had stopped moving in the way that she would before. So it was the bond that brought awareness of something is wrong. And my dreams and my goals started the moment I found out I was pregnant. Just weeks after my baby shower, me and the father of my child decided to move together because I was pregnant. So I got into that for her, just to raise her up in a healthy home. So all of my plans was centered around the fact that I was going to have a baby. We had a full baby shower. She had tons of stuff, tons of things. She had her own ring. The ring was already decorated. Everything was just in preparation of her coming. So when that happened, it shook my whole world, literally. After that, I couldn't look at her room. I just kept the door closed, and I just no longer wanted the things that I had seen around her being there. I had a lot of dreams, a lot of goals, had things already planned and in preparation and set up for her, and the bond was definitely there. My why was really the bridge from my healing, from me actually receiving my healing, because I was holding on so heavily to that why. It was actually in the way of me receiving my healing. Because part of surrendering is also letting go the need of having to know why. And oftentimes, all the times, God He won't give us the why, but He give us Himself. Instead, because when we form that relationship with God, just by having knowledge of who He is, the why don't even matter anymore. Because you have knowledge of who He is and how He operates. So He is the why. At this point, He is the why. Because that used to be my fear of even doing podcasts and interviews. I'm like, God, what if somebody asks me why? I don't have an answer for them. And we don't have to know why. Honestly, like, I've gotten to the point to where my why has been long surrendered. Because if I were to go back to having the need of having to know why, that would be me putting myself back in the hole that God has brought me out of. So I don't have the answer to why it happened, but I know who, I know who brought me through, and it's God, So the practical steps is to change what you're already doing that's not working. So your life have to be in alignment, and your decisions have to be in alignment with what you're praying. If you're praying for healing, you can no longer stay in the positions that is in the way of you actually receiving your healing. So, for example, if I were to just continue to drink every day, but I'm thinking that God will come down from the sky and heal me, it don't work like that. So you can pray, but you have to move the things that's in your way so you actually receiving what you're praying for. So I had to change my life and my decisions to be in alignment with what I was praying for. I had to move the things that was out of the way of receiving what I didn't knew God had for me. which was healing, which was peace, which was actual love, which was fulfillment. When I came to the realization that, okay, what I'm doing isn't working, it's actually digging me deeper in a hole. So my God works, he's not the problem. Let me evaluate myself in my own life and my own decisions, and let me allow him to strip away the areas that isn't bearing any fruit in my life, because that's how I will receive what I'm praying for. That's how I get my healing. That's how I get my fulfillment, because God is the answer to any and all problems. He is a healer. There's no question about that. But we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing that is not allowing God to be God? So the practical things is to line your life with your prayers. You want healing? What's in the way of you receiving that? First, the thing is, I actually had kids before I was even healed. And that's what I encourage women to just be mindful of their prayers when it comes to having more kids after losing one, because you could be praying from a place of bitterness or grief, and that's what I was doing. Because the moment I did have my kids that I prayed for, it didn't bring what I intended for it to bring. My kids was not the answer to my healing. They was not the answer to my happiness, to my joy, to my fulfillment. They wasn't the answer. I love them dearly, but they aren't meant to feel us the way that God can feel. God didn't create them to sustain us. Kids and careers and all the good things that God has for us on earth is only meant to be in addition to who he already is in our lives. That's what I encourage women to do, just to evaluate their heart posture when they're praying for more kids after losing one, because it could hurt you even more to receive what you're praying for and then not to do what you intended for it to do. God blessed me with 2 kids even before I was healed, and that positioned them to experience things that they were never meant to experience, that a child was meant to experience. Not saying that I was a terrible mom, but I wasn't perfect. I'm still not perfect. I'm better than what I used to be, but they weren't meant to go through that part of the fire with me. But God is so graceful, like he's just so merciful. He will sometimes allow a prayer to come to pass and give us all the things we're asking for, so that we can come to a point to realize, like, okay, now let me try God, because I'm getting all the things and it's not doing what I wanted or needed to do. So let me try God. And that was me. I got to the end of everything I thought would heal me, and I was like, it's not doing it. I had the business, I had the money, I had my own place, my car, and I had the kids that I prayed for. I prayed for more kids day and night. Like, God, just give me another child, And he did that and more, just so I could realize that he is the answer and not the thing, not his creations, the creator and not the creations. It's the answer to what we need, in the place of pain. And I always think of when celebrities and people that do have all the things and they commit suicide or they are struggling with any type of pain, the first thing the comment section say is, but how? He had this or she had that. And that's just a true example that you can have all the things, but if you don't have God, you will still be in a place of emptiness and unfulfillment. Right before I had my second child, I left a 7-year relationship, and it was for the good, but it was scary at the same time, because this would be my first time on my own and trying to raise 2 kids on my own and things like that. And it got hard. I struggled with depression again, suicidal thoughts, feeling unworthy as a mother to be able to give my kids what I felt that they deserved. So I struggled. This is just another season of struggling and of pain in my life, that just this time with kids. So it was even harder. I tried to do all the things. I tried to do the skincare routine in the morning, waking up before the kids, working out, looking at podcasts, reading books. I was trying everything except for God. And it was only sustaining me for a moment. It was that temporary satisfaction. It was like what was the word I want to use? Instant gratification. It was what I was looking for, but I needed something I needed something long lasting. So that's why I would hop around from doing this to doing that. Now I'm in this job, now I'm in that job. I could never find fulfillment, or I could never be content in anything I was doing. Because little did I know, I was looking for what only God can give in this world. And then all the things that they say will bring satisfaction. You know, they still doing it to these days. You see it on Instagram and on TikTok, that like the skincare routines and the women going to the gym and they living in the house that they desire, and that's good. You know, God placed us here to enjoy everything that He has here on earth. It belongs to us. But when we prioritize that over Him, we set ourselves up for just the emptiness and, you know, on the hamster wheel. Just going fast, just moving in circles. And that's what I was doing. I say God had to get my attention at that time by taking everything that I was using as comfort. But the moment I lost everything, it was a big relief. At the same time, it was a little bit, of course it was hard, but it was like a moment of relief, because I was trying in my own strength to hold together everything that I had to make it look good and to try to force it to give me what I was looking for. Like, no, peace is here. Like, no, they say, the world says, society says that peace is in having your own stuff and having your own business, and I'm trying to get that. I was trying to force something that wasn't there. God got my attention. I lost everything. And from that moment, He just spiritually started to build me back up. Because that's what matters first. Your spirit has to be elevated. And He started to do that in spirit first, because He had my attention. I tried all the things. Everything that didn't come from Him, everything that wasn't bearing any fruit, He cut it off my life. Then He had my attention. Yes. And even like idolizing things too, that's what it was in my life. I was idolizing that relationship. I was idolizing my business, idolizing everything else except for Him. You know, and when He take the rug from up under our feet for us to fall, ultimately it's for our own protection. Because what good would He be if He allowed us to go in circles trying to find Him, when He can just give us Him to begin with, by taking everything that ain't, you know? So that's what my life looked like. And so I'm at the point where I just lost everything, and we had to move back in, me and my 2 kids, with my mom. My mom, she's always had my back. It was, wherever we bumped heads, it was just a misunderstanding. I was a rebellious teenager, but also I was brokenhearted. I didn't know how to communicate. I didn't know how to say what I was feeling and things like that. But she always had my back. You know, like, even if we was bumping heads, if I called her and said someone else trying to bump my head, she's coming. She was coming. So, and she always had that relationship with God too. Her faith is what inspires me to this day. Like, she has the crazy type of faith to move across the country because God said so. So she had that understanding with God to allow the things that's out of her control to work out, as long as she's covering us in prayer. She knew we were good. So we went years without really talking. Like, I moved in with my boyfriend and I started having kids, and she was still there with everything. Phase. We would talk, but not as much. And I think that's the point in life where us as a people form that generational curse by leaving the home with the same problems or the same bitterness, and just thinking that time is what's healing it, but it's really being suppressed, and it's going to pass on generation to generation. Because after a while, years went on, and we didn't ever bring it up. You know, we didn't ever try to rekindle it. It sort of was just pushed to the back burner or suppressed. But when it came time for me needing her, she was there. No questions asked. She was there. And how that transition happened was I actually got evicted, because, like I said, at the time I was depressed, dealing with negative thoughts. So the money that I was making, it was really just supplying my bad habit. I would drink, I would rent cars, I would be outside. I was outside. I would be outside in places I had no business being, okay? But that's what we do as women. You know, that's why I don't judge anybody, because you look at someone in the lounge or in the club and she's partying, you don't know what she's trying to drown out. You don't know what she's dealing with or what she has dealt with, and suppress it for so long that she don't even have the knowledge of why she is the way that she is. That was me. Ooh, I was bad. I used to drink and get mad. I was ready to fight anybody. The security guard, the police when they pulled up. That was police. So the money that I was making at that time was supplying my addiction. I had fell off on paying rent and things like that. I just got to a point where I just didn't care anymore. So I actually got evicted. And that conversation came about of us moving back in. My mom, and she welcomed us with open arms. She never not once complained about us being there. So yeah, that was God. It's funny how he would rekindle things, and that's exactly what he has done these past few years. He restored that relationship, and I can't even sit here and tell you like exactly how, except for God. Like, we both have such a strong relationship with God individually that he used that to form that relationship between me and her. So just allowing God to work on my heart and to forgive, to move on, and to not play the blame game, that was all God. And I feel like God is so intentional, you know, the way he set things up. It's like he had to resurface like the blocks of my life before the elevation came. Because if you go to, like, if you elevate in life with the same bitterness, because sometimes you don't know that bitterness is still there or unforgiveness is still there until you have to resurface it, until you have to deal with that person again, until you're in the same household as that person. So God has to really like deal with your heart first before the elevation even comes. Because what good is it for us to elevate and now that bitterness, you know, the enemy try to bring up things that's deep in your heart just to knock you back down. So God is such an orderly and decently God. Like, he just allowed that. He spent the block with that relationship and he cleaned that up so that now we're just elevating together. Oh Lord, I remember going inside of a tattoo shop with me and my brother. This is after I lost my daughter. I'm dealing with it. And the moment we go in there, he said, "Oh, you won't be able to afford the tattoo." We went in there to ask him about the prices. Instantly, "You won't be able to afford it." What you mean I won't be able to afford it? Because, you know, he was a different color, and I literally went off. I started pushing the things over, the tables over. You know, before it got to that point, we went back and forth for a little moment. He was very rude, but my actions was unacceptable as well. Like, I literally flipped off on him, cursed him out, flipped the tables over. He's like, "I'm gonna call the police." I'm like, "Call him." Call the police. My brother called my mom, like, "Mom, Quisha's in this." So she was like, "Y'all leave right now." I mean, ask anybody in my family, they'll say, "Oh, Quisha." But that's just, I'm being transparent because that's the power of God. When it says that he will transform your mind, renew your heart, old things are past, all things are new. Oh, he mean it. Because I wouldn't dare let anyone get me to that point of being, because now I'm reflecting who my God, my Father is. I'm a reflection of the kingdom of God. Like, I no longer am moved by my emotions and my pain and the things that was a trigger. It's been dealt with. But the old me, Quisha, they'll tell you what I do at that time. It was dangerous. It was nobody but the grace of God that I've never been locked up, or like his grace. Even when it came to drinking and driving, like some nights I would make it home and I wake up like, how did I get here? His grace. In this season, honestly, it's time to spring forth and just do everything that he's been equipping me for. Since I moved back in with my mom, I have devoted myself fully to God. I've been in my Bible. I've been doing all the things in the secret place. What I feel he's calling me to do now is to just go forth and grab more of his daughter. You know, like it's outreach time. Just to pull up more women that have been through what I've been through, because I've walked with God. I've witnessed him to be a healer. I've witnessed him to be a restorer, a redeemer. So it's funny, I was thinking about that today because, you know, fear sort of consumed me just because of the past, the things that I have been used to without God. I'm just stepping out on faith. I'm squashing fear, and I'm just doing what I know He's calling me to do, which is just go forth and be obedient to His word. I was reading the book of the story about Moses and how God called Moses. I was very insecure about my voice. I have a degree in the medical field, but doing interviews around other people, I just felt so unintelligent. I didn't pronounce my words all the way. I talked with a slang, So I was like, God, you can't be choosing me for this calling. Like, this must be a joke. It can't be me. So I felt like Moses. Like, I don't talk intelligent. Like, I don't sound like, I've always been insecure about my voice and just about how I talk and my slur or whatever. But God just kept dealing with me. It was either obedience or being stagnant. Because if I choosing to walk with God, I have to obey His order. If not, you're gonna be stagnant, stuck in the places that you don't want to be in. And I'm like, okay, so I have to be obedient. So what I first started to do was just record my front camera and just talking about different experiences and different seasons that I was going into or coming out of. And it went from that to just God was showing me more and more and more. And His words started to make more and more sense. And it went from Him having to not force me, but it went from being uncomfortable to having this strong desire to spread the gospel. And no matter what the background looked like, no matter how I sound, no matter if I did have a slur, but like all those things no longer matter. I developed a strong desire to tell people what I know. And I remember one day I was sitting at the table and I was like, God really healed me. Like, I was like, oh my God, it's Saturday and I'm not outside. I'm like, I haven't been outside in a month. I said, God is doing something within me. The things that I desired, I no longer desire. And I had to look back and be like, wow, God is doing a work in me. And I was like, other women must know that there is another way. Because I was at a place where I thought there was no other way. I had got so long like, this is it. But I found God and He was the way. And I was like, women have to know. Not just women, but people, us, like we have to know that there's another way. So I was like, imagine how many women that's just out there accepting their life, accepting the bare minimum, accepting their pain and walking in it and being identified as it. And I said, whatever God gives me to say, I'm gonna say it. Because it's no longer about me. It's about who He has on the other side of the phone. He's done the work in me. So it's not about my own desires, how I look, how I think I should look. It's about who He's called to me. When I started to write my book, I had forgot all about the moment that God visited me when I was in the midst of my pain. It was very fresh when I lost my daughter. And I was in the apartment, just on the couch, crying. And like I said, I knew of God. So I knew to pray, I knew to cry out to God. I just didn't know to expect an answer or even His presence. Like, I didn't know what that was. So I was crying out to God on the couch. And I kid you not, the presence of God literally filled the entire room. The entire room. I no longer felt sad or hurt. Like, it's like all the things that was weighing on me, all of my burdens had lifted. I felt so light. And it just felt so peaceful and so uplifting. Like, I literally experienced the presence of God. And what He did was also He gave me a vision that I would be speaking to other women, doing what I'm doing now. Just helping them go through and bridge the gap between them and Him. He gave me that vision and I got so excited. I was like, I'm gonna help other women. Still drinking and everything. It wasn't the season or the time, but God was so graceful. He would give us little nuggets just to keep us going, So He gave me a nugget of that vision and I was so excited. And when I was writing my book, when I had to reflect on everything that I went through, I'm like, oh my God, I've experienced God's presence. And He gave me the vision that I will be doing what I'm getting ready to do now. So that was just a moment that dawned on me. It's like, wow, God had called me to this. I didn't even know it. I forgot about it, like, and from that moment, I was like, you know what? Every season in our life matters. It's ordained. It's a part of our chapter, a part of our story, whether we're walking with God or not. It's literally part of our story. He considered that part in our story, with however long it takes for us to finally walk with Him, however long it takes for us to leave a relationship, the things that we lose along the way. He considered all of that. That's just the eye-opening part in my journey, just seeing how intentional He is and how every moment matters. Like, nothing catches Him by surprise. Because He gave me that was years prior to me actually walking in the thing that He called me to.
What would you say to somebody who is that old version of Christian? They outside, as you said. It ain't no road being outside. But maybe they're just not walking the walk that they know they should be walking. What would you tell that person? And they don't even know God is real.
Wow. So I would tell them that as long as they continue to do what is causing them pain, they're not making room to receive all the things that God has for them. The outside is fun, the drinking is temporary healing, all of those things, but God has so much more for us, so much more. The fulfillment that you get in just knowing Him. He's not even visible, but just to know Him, like the supernatural fulfillment and all the things that come with just knowing God. It outweighs the thing that we the things that we bury ourselves in the world. Being outside, drinking, being everywhere, the easiest, that's how I was. I want to be everywhere. It's happening, I'm coming. It's really just burning ourselves out, and it's also a gateway for the enemy to just distract us from seeing what God has for us. So I would encourage anyone that's dealing with anything, any type of pain, any type of brokenness, going through grief, just give yourself time to heal, because though God longs for Him to be your healer, He's also graceful. He gives us grace. So don't rush the process, give yourself time to heal, but also make sure you make room for God in your healing journey, because trying to heal without Him is just a cycle. But the moment you invite God into your healing, it then becomes a process, and you get to see things along the way that you will not witness healing or trying to heal on your own.
The physics in it. My testimony is dope because
I not only know God, but I walk with Him. My social media handles is Her Refinements, and my book is available on Amazon as well as Barnes & Noble. It is called But Die by Marquisha Williams.
Nice.